laying on the hammer to the Minnesota Timberwolves, and Victor Wembanyama really coming back and making a difference in this game. We can go back to the first 6 minutes because I keep pointing to it. He had 16 points, guys, and 5 rebounds. Before we looked up, he was sitting down on the bench and he had already made a statement.
2 nights ago, Wemby walked off the floor in Minneapolis under the worst possible circumstances.
All the criteria has been upgraded to a flagrant foul penalty 2. Wembanyama has been ejected.
That elbow on Naz Reid got upgraded to a flagrant 2, and he was ejected with just 4 points. The whole Target Center was chanting, "Kick him out." It was probably the lowest point of his young career. But last night, he came out firing. 18 points in the first quarter alone. Finished with 27, 17, 5, and 3. Spurs won by 29. Just like that, the alien from France reminded everybody what he is capable of. This is the guy who had a 12-block triple-double in Game 1, the guy who dropped 39, 15, and 5 in Game 3, the unanimous Defensive Player of the Year. Minnesota spent 48 hours thinking they had a plan. Wemby spent 33 minutes tearing it apart. And the one number that should scare the Wolves heading into Game 6 is not the 27 points or the 17 rebounds. It is a much smaller number, and we will get there. But first, we have to go back to where this whole story really begins.
Here's the thing about Game 4. It was not just a loss for San Antonio. It became a theory. After Wemby got ejected with over 8 minutes left in the second quarter, everybody started thinking Minnesota had cracked the code. Maybe Wemby was not ready for this kind of playoff pressure. Maybe he couldn't handle the physicality. And honestly, you could see why people believed it. He had never been ejected before. He finished with 4 points in 13 minutes, the fewest he has ever scored in a game. Minnesota won 114-109 and tied the series. Coach Mitch Johnson said the Wolves were imposing physicality on Wemby every single possession, grabbing his arms, his jersey, throwing elbows into his body. De'Aaron Fox said Wemby's left arm was being held on the play that led to the elbow. Dylan Harper said it looked like Wemby was just trying to protect himself after getting grabbed all night. The Wolves were not trying to outskill San Antonio. They were trying to physically break them. McDaniels and Reid on every rebound, Gobert sitting at the rim, body contact everywhere. The whole plan was to make every play uncomfortable and see if a 22-year-old would crack.
Bryant off on the 3. Wembanyama engulfs the rebound.
That's an elbow. That's going to be an elbow by Victor.
And we got a tie up with McDaniels.
Now, sit with that for a second. If you are Chris Finch, this is where panic starts to set in. You spent the whole series building a defensive plan, and you thought you might have it figured out. Then Wemby drops 18 in the first quarter alone, and you learn real fast what happens when you poke the alien. The Wolves thought they had him. The first quarter proved they did not. But the real moment, the one that told the whole story, came about 10 minutes later. That is when Minnesota tried to run the Game 4 play one more time.
Wembanyama, shades of Jay crossover right here, the little spin move.
This right here is the moment. This is the whole video. What Reid did was the exact same kind of contact that triggered the ejection in Game 4. Same idea, get physical, make Wemby react, see if he snaps again. Minnesota was running it back. They needed to know if Game 4 was a one-time thing or a real pattern. And Wemby gave them the answer. He did not say a word to Reid. Locked in, went to the line, knocked down the free throw, and kept playing. The message was simple without any words. Push me, grab me, talk your trash. I am still going to play basketball, and I am still...
Now here is that stat I mentioned at the start. The one Minnesota should truly be scared of. 1. That is how many personal fouls Wemby committed in 33 minutes. 1. And you have to understand what was happening to him all night. The Wolves were grabbing him in the post, holding his arms on rebounds, bumping him in transition. Reid told him to hit the weight room after bullying him on a layup. Though Sunmu was drawing at him, McDaniels was leaning on him every single possession. This was the exact same physical environment that got him ejected 48 hours earlier. Same opponent, same tactics, same pressure points. Minnesota was practically begging him to swing back. He did not. 33 minutes of getting grabbed, pushed, and talked at, and just one personal foul. That is what a guy who blocks out the noise looks like. Every time the heat went up, he scored, grabbed a board, or found an open shooter. This is why the word reminder fits perfectly. The Wolves already knew he could score. They had seen 39 points in this series. What they forgot was that the Game 4 version of him, the frustrated one, was the exception. This right here is who he actually is. Unanimous Defensive Player of the Year, led the league in blocks, contested shots, and opponent field goal percentage. One foul in 33 minutes against a team trying everything to break him. The Naz Reid technical...
Wemby in the back during a free throw. Picks up a technical.
And Jamal kind of highlighted this. It starts with Anthony Edwards. He's got to get off the ball quicker. I think this is going to be a technical foul on Naz Reid, or
This is the moment, I'm telling you.
But the blowout, the full 29-point win, needed one more piece, and this part is getting completely buried in the highlights. Game 4 had a detail nobody really talks about. After Wemby got ejected, San Antonio actually fought back. They led by 8 in the fourth quarter without their best player on the floor. They made Minnesota earn it, but still lost. Anthony Edwards scored 16 in the fourth alone. Gobert and Reed made plays. The Spurs could not get over the hump. So Game 5 was never just about Wemby. He set the tone, but the rest of the roster had to show up, and they did. Keldon Johnson came off the bench and gave them 21 points on 8 of 11. That is a guy who loves the big moment. De'Aaron Fox was quiet and efficient with 18 and 5. Stephen Castle dropped 17 on 8 of 11 with 6 assists, getting better with every game. And Dylan Harper, 12 points, 10 rebounds in 25 minutes, making plays a rookie has no business making in the playoffs.
That's his fifth for Spur with 5. Harper. Oh. Whoa. That young kid is going to be a star. Yep.
He looked like his dad on that highlight tape we showed earlier.
But the real number that defined the night was points in the paint. Spurs 68, Wolves 36. The Timberwolves built their whole defensive identity around protecting the paint. Rudy Gobert is a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year. Naz Reid is one of the best mobile bigs in the league. McDaniels can defend up and switch, and San Antonio still beat them 68-36 in the paint. That is not a Wemby stat. That is everyone attacking the rim, finishing through contact, crashing the glass, and getting downhill. And here is the scariest part for Minnesota. The Wolves actually made a run. They went on a 14-2 burst in the third quarter and tied a game they were down 18 in. That is the moment young teams typically fall apart. The Spurs did not fold. Keldon Johnson blocked Gobert, then bodied Edwards.
And Randall popping free. Corner pitch, Shannon. Off the bench, can't hit Gobert. Johnson. Off Gobert.
That is a team that learned from Game 4. A team that refused to let Minnesota close another game that way. Wemby reminded the Wolves who he is. The Spurs reminded them who they are as a team. Those two reminders together are why this game was over before the fourth quarter even mattered. So where does Minnesota go now heading into Game 6? You usually get 2 or 3 real ideas in a series. Their first idea was physicality. Wemby handled it in 3 of 5 games. Their second idea was breaking him emotionally. That worked exactly once. They do not have a third idea ready, and Wemby just gave them 72 hours to try and find one. 27 points, 17 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 blocks, 1 foul. That stat line does not happen by accident. That is what it looks like when a player decides he is not going to give the opponent what they want most. This is why it is a reminder, not a message. Messages are loud and for the cameras. Reminders are quiet, and they stick. The entire Minnesota roster is walking into Game 6 carrying the memory of getting blown out by 29 in the game where their best defensive plan fell apart. If you are a Spurs fan, one thing should be on your mind. Close it out. This team had a top 3 defense this season. They went 62-20. They earned this. Game 6 is in Minneapolis. It is going to be loud. The Wolves are coming out swinging. San Antonio's going to need everything they've got. But if they get it done, it's over. Western Conference Finals. First trip since the Kawhi era. A 22-year-old leading the way. So tell me, did Game 5 seal this series, or do the Wolves have one more answer left? Drop your Game 6 prediction in the comments. Hit like, subscribe, and check out one of these videos on your screen now.